What was the incident at your high school? Senior prank: someone dumped a few £100 of flour and yeast into the school indoor pool, in hopes of turning it into a giant glob of dough, I guess. It didn't work, just caused about 100k damage to plumbing, pumps, filters, etc. Prankster never caught. We had so many pregnant teen girls that they had their own gym class. A friend of mine who had a fake leg, he had a solid metal rod from mid-thigh to mid-calf from childhood leukemia, so he couldn't bend at the knee, was in the same class. Just this one poor guy and 30 pregnant 16-year-olds. 1. The broomstick rape of a high school freshman by 3 baseball teammates. 2. 5 years later, the female assistant principal lifted the skirts of girls attending a dance to make sure the students were not wearing thong underwear. Edit 1 occurred in 1997, 2 in 2002. School is in San Diego, California. A girl had an epilepsy attack and she lost control of her bowels. Not a pretty sight. Mean Girls type made fun of her, and she transferred to another high school. A sophomore, my classmate, dropped unconscious in gym class and was rushed to the hospital. 3 days later they took him off life support and he died from a brain aneurysm. Edit to add, his funeral was held in the high school gym and damn near everyone went. Never in my life did I think I'd attend a funeral at school. A science teacher was beaten, chased, and fatally set on fire by her husband, who then shot himself. A group of kids threw a desk out the 3rd-story window. The desk crashed onto a girl's head and broke her neck. Fortunately, she lived. One of our Japanese teachers got stabbed in the back by a South Korean exchange student. Apparently he'd said some pretty insensitive things about North vs South Korea, and the next day the student came to school with a knife. Teacher was okay. Kid was jailed for 18 months. A kid came to school with a machete and tree saw and slashed 7 students the day before Thanksgiving break. And a girl fell through the gym's acoustic ceiling tiles and had to wear a halo. Someone sprayed butyric acid throughout the entire school. In high concentrations, it smells like pure vomit. School reeked for weeks. Police were involved, etc. No culprit was ever found. My school has a kid nicknamed the Study Hall Stroker. Self-explanatory. Pretty tame compared to some of the other stuff here, but my school at one point decided to crack down on anyone who had ever connected to the TOR network from the school Wi-Fi, including on personal devices. Over the course of a day or two, around 200 students were informed that they were banned from using all electronic devices, including those required for classwork, while in school for a semester. I remember walking into a programming class and the teacher asking anyone who still had computer access to raise their hand. None did. The teacher, who looked so much like a 70s porn star, did turn out to have made porn in the 70s. Married male teacher in his late 30s having an affair with a senior female student. Fairly ordinary. They didn't hide it though, we used to see them smooching all the time. Rumor says he lost his job over it and then followed her to another city when she left for university. She then dumped him for a boy her own age. My high school went on lockdown because my mother was going through a manic episode, thought I was the second coming of Jesus, and said she was going to save me. I honestly never lived it down. My science teacher shot himself with a rifle in his garden. Struggled with depression for a long time. One of the best students from this one class was found to have stolen his teacher's smartphone and online banking details. He got caught when he did the first transaction. He apparently was into football and wanted to buy some specific football boots, but his parents won't let him. 1982, rural Indiana. Someone went into the bathroom, lit a cigarette, and stuck the fuse from a quarter stick M80 in the other end. Destroyed one toilet and a section of the wall. State police bomb squad called in. Explosive trained dogs. Even FBI. I was one of those questioned as I was the typical stoner loser burnout kid. I know who did it. It was one of the pretty people as they were called back then. He even kinda confirmed it while drunk at our 30th reunion. In 3 months, November, December, and January, 3rd guys in my graduating class all died. One from suicide, one from a skiing accident, and one on the track at school. It was extremely eerie and sad. So back in the early 80s, a kid at our school's older brother disappeared. The cops searched the neighborhood and went door to door trying to find out what happened to him. Spoke to every kid in school in case they knew anything. Wasn't long before he was discovered to have been the victim of he was only 16. Some douchebag fell down the stairs because he was high as fuck and he was never seen again. Someone brought their capybara to school and it ended up becoming class president. My high school in Australia had agricultural learning, so we had livestock at the far end of the oval and some facilities. In the 90s, someone broke into the school and slaughtered all of the animals, all of them, and drew pentagrams and swastikas in blood all over the school. And left decapitated heads around. Pretty historical event for that school. There was a perpetrator leaving smeared feces around the walls in the bathroom. I found one and I'll never forget. Picture was of a flower and sun, drawn in poop. There were several incidents before the person was caught brown-handed and several jokes about code browns. My class had an anonymous blogger, a la gossip girl, who would target each of us in turns, like spreading rumors about students and teachers and trying to turn friend groups against each other. This was an all-female class. Nothing too dramatic, but we spent the whole year trying to figure out who it was. Narrowed it down to be someone from our class and from band. In the end we gave up because everyone found her writing style so over the top and annoying, and the lack of attention caused the blog posts to appear less frequently till it stopped altogether. One of the science teachers thought having a class project around creating mini rockets would be a fun little activity. Well, unfortunately he didn't notify the school where or when they were going to test these. So the school goes into lockdown because of the explosions. Him and his class get locked out of the school. Or at least that's what I've been told. Wasn't actually in that class. 2 guys swam to school. It was located on an island through the most busy commercial shipping lane on the continent. Bomb threat and armed police storming the building, I think. Also on a trip to Iceland, everyone got food poisoning and the teacher who was meant to look after the kids was out getting drunk and hitting on women at a local bar. He got in trouble for that. Teenage pregnancies. One of the girls shoplifting on a school trip abroad got caught, with the police involved. Don't actually know the outcome of that one looking back. Usual crap really. 2 actually. Both really bad. 1, a kid who was homosexual got a blanket thrown over him in a stairway where they beat him mercilessly and then threw him down the stairs. Never caught who did it. He never came back and I don't blame him. 2 kids called up a pizza place and ordered a pizza for delivery to an abandoned house. When the delivery guy came, they proceeded to shoot him multiple times until he was dead. Really bad scene. They even based a Law and Order episode about it. HS Football Friday. One of the players emancipated himself and had a small shack out in the woods. Big kegger. An older kid graduate shows up at some point. Later that night the older kid drives into the rear end of a payloader, killing him. An investigation leads to many underage kids getting in trouble. Starting football lineup was all involved. Wrecked the season. The emancipated kid took all the trouble. We had an assembly and the principal says heads will roll. There was a guy who broke up with his girlfriend and started dating someone new. The ex went into a jealous rage, stole a knife from cooking class, pulled the new girl aside at lunch to talk and nearly stabbed her to death. Multiple stab wounds, including one that was dangerously close to her heart. She survived, and the ex went to juvie. In fact, she recently got out and added a ton of us on